Hello, everybody. I feel like our future is going to be aliens. Okay, let me explain. Growing up, when you think about 2025, you think about Back to the Future, right? Flying cars, shoes that could tie itself, the jacket that readjusts to fit your body, the the hydrator that turns a tiny pizza into a giant pizza, which, if you really think about it, that pizza must be the most toxic processed pizza ever. Because for them to get it to that small, to expand to that big, that must be 90% plastic or something like that. Anyways, when you think about 2025, you think about all these advancements that were possible. You ask anybody what 2025 looks like, they're going to say, oh, I thought we're going to have flying cars. And not to say that we can't make any of this stuff. Some of the stuff is actually very possible to make. The self-tying shoes, possible. The jacket that adjusts itself to fit your body, possible. It's just not cost effective. Flying cars, technically we do have flying cars. They have flying vehicles. It's just not feasible for everyone to have flying cars. Think about this, okay? Just on the road, and I'm Asian. I know how it is, okay? People barely follow the laws as it is with roads. Now imagine you're in the sky with no roads. It's going to be chaos. That's most likely the reason why we don't have flying cars. Now, back to aliens. I just finished watching Aliens Earth. Great show, by the way. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, check it out. It's great. Hopefully they have a season 2. You never know with these shows. Sometimes the first season's great, and then the studio finds out that it costs too much money. They never make season 2. Hopefully they have a season 2. But I just finished watching Aliens Earth because I saw like a Joe Rogan podcast episode where he talked about it, and I was like, I'm gonna go check it out. I haven't watched Aliens since Prometheus. Right, so I watched Aliens Earth, and it got me down the rabbit hole, going back to watching all the other aliens, because I got curious, and I saw the timeline of where Aliens Earth fits in. I believe it fits in right before Alien, right? So I'm like, what? Anyways, so then I go and I watch Covenant, or whichever one was after Prometheus, right? I watched that one. And then now I'm really into it. I go back and I watch Romulus, and then I just finished watching the original Alien, right? And I was really, really, really little when I watched the first Aliens. Every time I would go back to watch like the whole Aliens Xenomorph franchise, I start with Aliens, the good one, and I never watched Alien. So it's actually my first time as an adult with more real world sense and whatnot, watching the first Alien. And the more I think about it, the more we're where we are now, like the human evolution of society. I feel like we're heading towards not Back to the Future where whatever the tech and stuff is going. I feel like we're heading towards what society looks like in the Aliens franchise. And I know other franchises, like sci-fi shows, touched on this, but I feel like since I just watched Aliens, it's fresh in my head. Where we are heading in society, and keep in mind, where aliens, like where they start, we're not that far away from them. We're in 2025 now. I believe the first Alien, like where they are in time is 125 or something like that, like 80 years or so years from now. And I saw that, and I thought about where we are right now, and you advance that by 80 years, right? So in the Alien, and if you think about the Aliens franchise, yes, there's the Xenomorphs, but if you actually rewatch all the movies, the main bad guy is actually the corporations. Was it Weyland-Yutani, right? They're the main bad guys because there's lots of times, if you rewatch all of the stories, where they could have got off the ship or they could have done this or that. Basically, that movie would have ended there. But because the corporation wanted the xenomorph or whatever to make it to a bioweapon or study it or something like that, the movie goes on and things get crazy. And in Aliens Earth, they expanded the lore a little bit, right? If you watch any of the other Aliens, there's actually only one big bad company. It's Weyland-Yutani, right? And if you watch Prometheus, it was just Weyland. So there's a point where the two bad companies merged together to form a mega company. But in Aliens Earth, we learned that there are basically like 5 companies or whatever or so that basically control everything. And, nations are no longer there. They're just companies now. They just run everything. There's no America. It's just this area here is controlled by blah, blah, blah company. And that area there is controlled by blah, blah, blah company. That's basically how it runs now. And as I'm like thinking about that and I think about where we're heading, it seems like we're heading in the same direction. If you really think about it, okay, 2025 now, the first Aliens is in like 2100. So 80 or so years, right? Weyland, the original company that started everything, I think they're the company that's in Prometheus, the reason why they're even on that planet or whatever, their specialty is robotics and space travel. Now, can you think of a company or a person now that is into robotics and space travel? Elon is into robotics and space travel. As I'm recording, this is coming off of his shareholder meeting that he had with Tesla, where he wanted $1 trillion committed so he could build a robot army, right? So he could become, I guess, essentially the first trillionaire on paper in public. We could talk about like the shadow wealthy people but that's a whole nother discussion. Elon is into robotics and space travel, right? He wants to get people to Mars. He wants to build a robot army. And it's all for, future generations down the road or whatever. That's on the path of like where the Alien franchise is, right? He gets to $1 trillion. And I mean, think about it. We're all talking about having $1 billion is so many times more money than a millionaire, right? Having $1 trillion is so many more times than being a billionaire, right? And then you think about all these companies that are consolidating, right? There's the AI bubble that is insane thought to think about. Nvidia is now a $5 trillion company. Where they're at, $5 trillion, they can, of the top, what is it? I think they're like 8% now of the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies. They're 8% of that. They can essentially buy like from 10th place all the way down to like 20th place, and like added together will be added up to like where Nvidia is now. And then what is it? The food companies, all the fast food companies and major like food brands are all actually owned by like 2 companies or whatever, right? You have BlackRock that owns a little bit of everything, which is also insane. Like you can see it. You can see how this is forming to become what the alien society or timeline looks like down the road, where just a few companies buy enough stuff, have a little bit of everything to basically dominate everything, because it's going to get to a point where they get so big that they can buy off any competitor or open a subsidiary to buy another piece that owns another piece, and then they're all actually related to form, evil corp, whatever. You see, like in Korea, if you look at Samsung is basically Korea at this point. They have banks, they have the technology wing, they have Samsung Food, they have everything over there. Same thing in China. They have a similar situation going on. In Japan, same thing. Eventually, the corporate, and then at some point, maybe Nvidia is tired of this and they're just gonna buy a country, because at $5 trillion, they're what their worth is more than a whole bunch of countries put together. They could buy a good chunk of the planet if they really wanted to, or if it was for sale, right? I mean, I guess, okay, you can buy, they don't have an army, right? But if you think about it, if Elon is building a robot army and you got Nvidia or one of these major companies, they have trillions of dollars at their disposal. They can just buy a whole bunch of robot army, like a big droid army, and just unleash them. And how warfare is going now, it's all autonomous, it's all drone strikes and everything. You don't really need soldiers. If you could just pump out more drones than the other side, you're eventually gonna win. It doesn't matter. Think about how much training it takes to get one soldier out, opposed to like a $50 drone that you can build from parts at Home Depot. And if aliens, at least the structure of how things work for society and aliens, is going to be our future, you think about what people are going to be doing. Because if you really watch the Aliens franchise, all the people are actually just slaves to the corporation. They're out there doing a mission for the company. Like 80% of the time that you watch the Aliens show, like I said, I just rewatched all of them. And it's always like, for the company, everyone else is expendable, which is kind of where I feel like things are heading towards now. Yeah, because like, it's very interesting to think about how their society works, where you go out on a mission and you're asleep for like 20 years. Everyone that you know and love are gone by the time you ever get back to your home world, your planet. So like, you just work for the company, and when it's your time, it's your time. So I just wonder, what are we all going to be doing later as they're building more of these robot things. I just saw this thing. It's in Australia. They developed this robot that can 3D print houses, and they're talking about, oh, they're going to be working alongside. And again, the 3D printed house thing is not a new thing. Because what I saw before, when they had 3D printed houses, they have to lay tracks, right? And then there's like a cement 3D printing thing that goes, but this is like a moving spider robot. That's the plan anyways, that can basically, they're saying it could build a house in 24 hours. And then in the same line, they're like, oh, it's going to work with construction. If it can build a house in 24 hours, all those construction worker guys are gone, right? I mean, you don't need any of them if it can build a house in 24 hours. We'll see. What I find interesting though, where I can see this working, is can they shoot. I think in the same commercial that I saw, they were talking about, they want to build stuff on the moon with it, but if this really works the way that they're planning to work, I wonder if they could just shoot it towards Mars, and then they'll just start 3D printing houses on Mars, right? Oh, okay, I got it. They shoot it to Mars, and then it can make sand houses, right? Because there's sand right there, and it could make unlimited sand castles in Mars. That's actually a great idea. that would work. I don't know. I like that. Like, can you imagine they shoot these things to Mars, and then it has like a scooper. It scoops sand into the back, and then it compresses it into bricks, and it just lays bricks down. And I think, what is it, the timing for Mars? I think it takes 3 years for a spaceship or one way to get over there. If they shoot these things now, and there's supposedly it could build in 24 hours, if they can somehow get it to use the materials that are already on Mars to build some kind of primitive structure. I'm not talking about like a sports arena, but just like sandcastle bricks, and then you can start sending people there, and they'll have houses, a habitat, like a sandcastle habitat. Maybe Mars will happen, but yeah. And I guess that's how it starts, right? Because you, again, going back to Aliens, it's October. Watch a scary movie, guys. They're all colonizing random planets. That's what every single one of them are doing. They're just like going around conquering a planet, and that's gonna be your planet now. That's where you're gonna live. Maybe that's maybe that's what we're all gonna end up doing later down the road once they get it together. Think about it. 80 years from where we are now to where they are in the first Aliens timeline. I could totally see us getting close to that. At least in how society is set up, with the companies just owning everything. I'm telling you, we're already getting there. Nvidia, $5 trillion. Elon is on the path to become a trillionaire on paper. He's into robotics. And then you think about the Aliens franchise as well, where there's the synthetic people. We're getting there with AI, right? We're getting there. It's coming. Yeah, I mean, as I'm recording this, they just released the Echo robot maid thing. It's have you guys seen this thing? It's a $20,000 maid robot thing, and they're advertising it that it can handle all your house chores. But the silly part of this whole project, and these tech companies need to get it together, okay? I know everyone's really excited about all their whatever project that they're working on. They gotta stop releasing unfinished products. I think, what was it, like 2 years ago when ChatGPT first came out, someone released like the little Game Boy looking thing that can like basically ChatGPT for you, and it didn't really work. And there was a subscription model, and it basically it crashed really hard because half the buttons didn't even work, and all it really did was just search ChatGPT for you. This maid robot, it is $20,000, and the technology on it is right now it has the technology for it to map your house is not there. Because think about it, every house is different. The layout of every house is different. Where you have stuff is different. And I guess the technology for it to efficiently map out your house is just not there. And so I guess most of the time, there's actually a remote pilot that is actually manning this thing. And it's just an unfinished product. And they're you could pre-order it now. They're gonna have it shipped soon or whatever. And you can already tell by how it's going, it's gonna crash. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys watch Aliens Earth. What do you guys think about it? I'm just curious to see what everyone's thoughts are on what movie. I guess that's the question. If you would have to think about a movie that's set in the future, where are we heading?